Legendaries in WoW have gone through quite a lot of changes, from a raid drop questline, dropped from the final boss of a tier, all the way to being handed out to everyone for talking to some guy in a tower. I started playing WoW casually in late BC. During the early months of Cataclysm, I took a break from the game. I came back during the last few months of Mist of Pandaria after the questline to obtain the legendary cloak was removed. My first experience with the legendary in my own hands was the ring in patch 6.2, and while it was an arguably cool effect, it just didn't feel legendary. Back in Wrath, when I was a horrible noob at the game, I saw someone with Shadowmourne, and it was incredibly awe-inspiring, from the look of the weapon to what it did. And nowadays, when I pug a raid or do a mythic dungeon, seeing someone with a legendary ring just tells me that they've played this expansion long enough to get nothing else. While I don't pug often because gearing all sucks, occasionally when I try, some groups are requiring ahead of the curve achievement and to link the ring. Even if my eye level is above the requested, and I link my Mythic Archimon achievement, they still decline me because I haven't finished the ring quest yet. This issue became very apparent to me when I was raid leading a group for Heroic Hellfire Citadel with some friends, and one of the applicants linked me his ring. Mind you, this was a group for Sakrathar. In the group listing, I had put no indication to do this, so I asked him why he did it, and the reply was that they always do it because they expect all groups to require it. As a Mythic Raider, this will be from the raiding perspective. As for the proposed system of legendaries coming in Legion, I completely disagree with it. The main issue with them so far is the way of obtaining the items. Having a legendary item have a chance to drop from any mob, or specific few mobs, out in the world is awful. Having a system for random drop percentage from 24/7 farmable mobs is the worst idea ever. As the title suggests, since these are going to be a world drop, what happens if you don't loot it? What if you get caught up in PvP or on a PvP server, or you get a dungeon queue pop? Would your new and awesome legendary come in the mail? Sent by the postmaster? It seems like a really crappy way of getting a legendary item. This already happens with gear drop from instances, such as BOE epics from raids, or the random greens from dungeons, which you vendor anyway. As a raider, I'm going to have to spend many hours farming for these items to guarantee having them for raid progression, which is the way I enjoy the game. As of making this, Blizzard has stated that the affix to these items, the extra effect, will not be active when in mythic raids, but will they still be active in heroic raids? Nothing's been said about that yet. My issue with this is that you can still have the extremely high item level piece of gear equipped, so even without the extra affixes, the legendaries will still be more powerful than anything else obtainable within the first tier of the expansion. Imagine if the legendaries rings from Warlords of Draenor were accessible on 6.0 launch, but they were so rare that only a few people could obtain them, or if Shadowmourne or Fangs the Father or the Warglaze of Azoniath at the launch of their respective expansions. While I can speculate on this all day, right now the exact drop rate is unknown, but I can see bad things with both ends of the spectrum. If the drop rate is extremely low, this makes the items feel more legendary, but also makes anyone that wants to obtain them have to farm that much longer to get them. If the drop rate is so high that everyone, even casual players, can have all the legendaries they could want, then it falls into the same problem with the last two expansions. If the drop rate is actually balanced, then anyone that plays alts or plays more casually, which is a hell of a lot of the player base, will see this as a massive grind. After a good month or two into Legion, pug groups and raiding guilds will almost definitely require having a legendary to enter the group or join the guild. I'm all for having a system to gate content until a certain progression is reached, but having the gate be time spent killing bears in the world or RNGesus is not the way to go. A skilled player with less free time to play WoW should be able to progress faster than someone with all the time in the world to grind legendaries and do the LFR. I see a few ways to fix this problem. First, being the complete removal of these items from Legion, but as I know that's not going to happen, I think that at least making the world drop be a quest starter and not the gear itself would be a great idea. This would give a lot more purpose to each legendary and put more content into the game. If not that, then at least scale down the eye level of these items in raids, at least at the beginning of a new tier, in addition to absolving the affix. If this was to be implemented, it could then be argued why bother even having these legendaries for raiding if they're no better than the epics the raid drops, which I would say C.1. Keep in mind, this is all my opinion. I know not everyone will agree with what I've said, but I just wanted to get this out there, as I really think that this is an issue that needs to be fixed. And more than just the big YouTubers and the big names and the people that go on the forum all the time, it needs to be said by more people. Alright, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think down below, and I will see you next time.